All right, so there are 3 critical things that I never forget when I go to a trade show. When my team says we're attending a show somewhere, I ask these 3 not nice to haves, but must critical have questions before anything else happens. And so in today's video, we're gonna address these questions and also talk about how an amateur would address it, how a pro would address it, and how a trade show beast, savant, or blood-sucking trade show savage would address it. All right, so just as a baseline, a amateur in this scenario is just someone that's doing a trade show for the first time. They're new to the trade show space. They're gonna learn a lot. They're gonna make some mistakes. They're gonna understand what to do better for the next show. When I refer to someone as a pro, that's someone that's seasoned in the trade show space. Maybe a little bit of room for improvement, but for the most part, they know what they're doing and they know what risks they need to take to add brand value. And a trade show beast in this scenario knows exactly how to stand out. They stop at nothing to crush the competition. They're not gonna be vulnerable and allow someone to steal their attention at a show. They are an absolute trade show monster. So the number one question I ask to my staff or to my team or to anyone doing a show is, did we order flooring? Because flooring, my friends, is the most underrated and most ignored decision at a trade show. And it doesn't have to be fancy, it doesn't have to be expensive, but you cannot show up to a floorless booth and expect people to take your brand seriously. You just can't. Here are your options. Option 1, the amateur is gonna show up to what I would call basically nothing. That's raw concrete, unfinished floor. And that immediately communicates that we didn't think this through. The concrete feels cold, it's not inviting, it feels temporary, very off-putting, and subconsciously it tells people to just keep walking. And that this isn't a comfortable place that I want to stand and do business. Literally the exact opposite of why you're at a trade show. Option B, the trade show pro will at least order the trade show carpet. A little expensive, but at least it shows you that they care. Trade show carpet runs about $400 to $700 for every 10 by 10. That's 100 square feet. The bad news is you don't own it. You rent it for a few days and return it, but it gets the job done. And obviously much better than just the concrete. Anything's better than the concrete, unless your brand sells concrete. And the pro in this scenario is gonna go with something a little bit more polished. A trade show beast won't show up to raw concrete. A trade show beast won't show up to used rented carpet. A trade show beast gets interlocking foam frames. $300, reversible, reusable, an instant upgrade with padding. I promise you, it's an absolute game changer. Visually, it elevates your booth immediately. Physically, your feet won't hurt the next day and will thank you for standing on them for 8 hours. People linger longer, your staff and your team feel better, and again, your brand looks and feels intentional. I'm gonna go out and say that the trade show flooring is the highest ROI decision that you can possibly make on the trade show floor. Next time you walk a show, just look around at the decisions that people make. When I walk a show, you can imagine, I'm observing, what kind of flooring do we have? How does it tie into my backdrop? Am I padded? Am I inviting folks in? Or am I sterile and cold? Am I pushing people away? These are the decisions that matter. All right, let's get into number 2. The second question I always ask is, did we order lights? Because nothing kills the vibe at a trade show more than dark graphics. It's quite counterintuitive. You're showing up to be seen, and then you don't light up the marketing message that you came here to broadcast. It's just weird. All right, so how do we address it? Option 1, the amateur. They will show up with no lights. It's their first time. They've never done a show before. This means they'll likely just be relying on the show lighting, being the convention hall. The booth suddenly feels flat, it's ignored, it's muted. Option 2, the pro is gonna have at least trade show backdrop lighting, LED clip-on lights. Great solution. They're affordable, they're easy to install, they pack with the rest of the hardware so everything travels together, and most of the time they will get the job done perfectly, especially if you're in a 10 by 10 or 10 by 20. Overhead LED lights attached to your display is all you'll ever need. And then option 3, the trade show beast, the savage, the savant, they're gonna order probably a Parcan system or overhead truss system. What does that mean? These are the kind of lights that you wanna focus on a specific range or specific section in your booth to ensure that there's attention drawn to that specific area. The overhead lighting rig usually runs about $1,200 to $1,500. So again, if you have a large booth space and you need that extra attention, be sure to go with overhead truss Parcan lighting systems. Now here's a piece everyone forgets. Sometimes you've got the lights with you, you show up at the show, and nobody ordered electrical. What does that even mean? Be sure that you or someone on your team goes into the admin portal, the actual exhibitor website, and orders electrical. Crazy fun fact, you have to order it in amps. You're probably thinking, I'm not Nikola Tesla, I don't measure anything in amps. Either way, you're gonna figure it out, but the point is you gotta get someone in there because there will be a penalty for those that show up without having ordered electrical in advance. And if you actually need lights or hardware from the show, be sure to definitely order in advance because they're gonna give you the snickle fritz of whatever's left over at triple the price of what you could have got them for or had you ordered in advance. You see the pattern here? The system is designed for you to fail. The system is designed for you to forget so that they can get you. So be prepared and order everything in advance. All right, last and third question, what I always ask every time is, what are we printing on the back? Not the front, not the primary graphic, but on the back side. Now, 9 out of 10 times, most people don't even know the trade show has a back or that you can actually print on the back. And this remains a huge missed opportunity for most folks. The idea here is that you never know what you're gonna be up against or what kind of exposure you're gonna have. And leaving the back empty is just a branding oversight. I'll tell you a funny little side story. One time we set up a booth for a customer and I urged them to print the back of the display, and they ended up being positioned at an end of an aisle. And what happened was that the entire restroom, the washrooms for the entire show, for that hall, were right behind his display. So every time folks went into the bathroom, they would re-enter the hall and directly look at a white backless display. What an insanely valuable piece of real estate that was not seized in terms of an opportunity to convey your brand message. Okay, so option one, the amateur, no back, keep it white. I didn't even know it had a back. I didn't even know we could print on the back. Moving on. That person will go to enough shows and start to see enough backs printed to start thinking, hey, there might be an opportunity to convey a message facing that way as well as this way at the same time at the next show. Option two, our trade show pro, they're probably gonna just print the same exact message as the front on the back. Maybe they don't have enough time to redesign or create a secondary image. So we'll just hedge our bet with the same graphic. It looks great here. It's gonna look great on the back. And at least now we're covered and have the exposure we need. Now we're still visible. We're still communicating. In option C, our trade show Savant has their secondary message ready to go. This is a trade show pro that does more than one show a year, and they know exactly how important and how valuable the back of the display is. They have different markets they want to target. They have a different audience they want to speak to. They have a different value proposition that they want to convey. Maybe you're in Vegas today and in Dallas tomorrow and in New York next month. I'll give you an example. We have a client that sells toys, but they also exhibit in the book and gift space. Now imagine, same booth hardware, different messages. On one side, you convey a toy-centric message. On the back, you have a very book and gift-centric message. If you know you have multiple shows or multiple types of industries that you're catering to, then obviously it makes sense to have an A and a B that's relevant to those markets. And then there's the blood-sucking vampire savage that will A/B test different graphics at the same show in real time and get real-time analytics in a single weekend. Imagine flipping your graphic on day one to be on side A and the next day side B, just to gauge how much traffic is generating or what kind of response you're getting. And here's the economic piece of this that most people miss. If you print the back today, you're paying about half the price of what you would pay if you came back 6 months later with a different graphic. So if you have the foresight and the messaging ready, print side B and give yourself the flexibility. All right, that about wraps it up. Don't forget about the basics. Turn on the lights, order some flooring, make sure you have it back to the display so you got some added visibility. Most of all, show up to the show laser focused and win. I'm Steve Rad. We'll see you on the show floor.